Released over a decade ago, Far Cry 4 had the impossible task of following up one of the most iconic gaming villains in history, Voss, which I have only heard of since I never actually played Far Cry 3. This was my first Far Cry game. I got it recommended to me by a friend and picked it up from a sale, and I've completed it 100%. I wanted to give my opinion on this game and how well it holds up in 2026, and if it's worth playing. And my overall verdict is that, yes, it is worth it, and I'll explain why. But first, let me address that the game isn't perfect. I'll point out some flaws I discovered while playing this, but also the good things that really struck with me. The world, the characters, gameplay. I'll review all of these, and this isn't going to be some really long, overly critical video where I'm analysing how many breaths Paganman takes in the opening cutscene and how it ties into his overall character. It's just my thoughts and opinions on the game, and opinions are subjective. With that out of the way, let's go straight into the world of Kyrat. The moment you step into Kyrat, or Banapur more specifically, you can just feel how massive the world actually is. The tall mountains, the endless forests, and the map itself seems pretty large. Most open world games nowadays hold an empty map with loads of area that lacks any soul to it or meaningful reason to explore it. Whilst Kyrat isn't entirely devoid of this trope, you will have a reason to explore it. There's different areas with collectibles, items that you can sell for money to buy weapons, and useful maps, notes to read for the world building. There's character in this open world, and you can go basically anywhere you see, apart from the large mountains. If you do try, the game just tells you to turn back, which is better than an invisible border at least. After your introduction to Pagan Men and the tutorial of the game, you're led to the first safe village, where members of the Golden Path reside, which is the rebel group standing against Pagan Men's royal army. You only came here to spread your mother's ashes, but after killing a lot of royal army troops and witnessing Pagan's unfiltered demeanor, you feel welcomed into the Golden Path, not forgetting your ultimate goal, as to spread your mother's ashes, you need to reach Pagan's palace to get there. Whether you are running or driving around, you'll see allied rebels and enemies cruising around as well. Active gunfights, animal attacks. The world may be slightly repetitive in its scenery when you're actually inside of it, being mostly forest and dirt paths with some shrines here and there and caves. The world feels alive, and that you are in a country in the middle of a war. Also, shout out to my favorite vehicle in the game, the gyrocopter. You can basically fly anywhere with this thing. It saves me loads of time. There are outposts and bell towers to conquer as well. Outposts are enemy patrolled, and your job is to conquer them and either stealthily take care of it without any alarms being set off, or just kill everybody without a care of the reinforcements that will be called upon being spotted. There are 24 scattered around the map, but they never feel out of place. They are well spaced apart, and after each outpost liberated, it turns into a safe haven where you can fast travel and make purchases at. After liberating Outpost 2, a variety of side missions are offered that you can choose to complete. Admittedly, I found the side missions to be quite dull, and seeing them more as chores. They weren't terrible though. The side missions range from killing leaders, saving hostages, skinning animals, killing rare animals, races, defending moving cargo, and so on. I personally preferred the ones where I could kill some enemies. Whilst the side missions aren't the greatest aspect of the game, they do tie well into the world of Kyrat, as most of them feel linked in the rebellion against Pagan's rule and taking down the royal army, and I've definitely experienced more monotonous kinds of side missions in different games. So, to be honest, they're alright, and hold their place in the world. There's not an extremely bloated amount of them either, so you can take it at your own pace without feeling overwhelmed. The Karma events also act as even smaller side content. I suppose you could call it that. Where, as I mentioned earlier, you will get a call for help nearby. That would be to help with an animal attack, or maybe help rebels kill some soldiers. The more you complete these, the more karma level you get, which provides rewards like weapons or shop discounts. Your karma does go down though if you kill friendlies, so try not to play this the genocide way if you are like that. The bell towers are one of my favorite things about this game. You have 17 on the map, each in their own part of it, and once you climb these tall towers, which you can feel by the way, you can feel the swaying of the tower and hear the wind, so you get a feel for how high up you actually are, which is pretty cool and immersive. Upon liberating a bell tower, a portion of the map becomes clear, highlighting unique areas and such. I found these to be quite similar to Breath of the Wild's way of uncovering the map too, and I would always make them my first priority. My first experience with bell towers in this game, I'd climbed up to the top and got jump scared by an eagle. Yes, they can do that, they can scare the shit out of you. And so can rhinos and bears. There's tons of animals in this game that want to kill you, and you will definitely experience it. And sometimes they'll actually help you do your job for you. Like, they will kill the enemies. I swear to God. Another side of this world was Shangri-La. You access this world by finding the temples around the map, which there are 4 of. Shangri-La has you play as Kalinog, a legendary warrior provided with the mission of defending his home from the Rakshasas, which you end up fighting with your bow. This world provides a nice change from the normal gunfights in the overworld. You fight these blue demons that scream and yell at you, they run at you. It was low-key scary at first, I'm not gonna lie. And these self-exploding dogs. Each stage provides more lore about Shangri-La and Kalinag's mission. Your ultimate goal is shown to you from the start. As you cleanse the realm by ringing the bells, you encounter the Winged Demon, who in the very last mission you will end up fighting. This was an okay boss fight, just run around dodging attacks, killing lesser enemies and shooting the bird in the mouth to bring it down, summoning your tiger to attack it. It was pretty repetitive though, but I took it with a grain of salt as the game obviously isn't designed with boss fights in mind. This was really the only boss in the game, unless you count Yuma's as well, where you actually end up fighting Kalinag as you were drugged. But I'll talk more on that later. I found Shangri-La to be interesting and certainly a beautiful place to explore. It also provided a good parallel to Ajay's main quest too. As Kalinag enters Shangri-La to cleanse it off its demons, Ajay enters Kirat to cleanse it from Pagan, and it provided a nice change of gameplay upon each segment too. Overall, the world of Kirat is well made. A few flaws here and there, but it makes its mark to be unique and alive. The graphic design also played a significant part. The game is 12 years old, but the visuals hold up. I wasn't even playing on the highest settings, but it all felt so natural, and entering Shangri-La for the first time is something etched in my mind when it comes to this game, for sure. But beyond all of that, the core gameplay of Far Cry 4 is where the game truly shines. I think the gunplay was fantastic in this game. It was punchy and satisfying. Compared to other aspects of this game, there were barely any bugs present in the gunplay, unlike the witch of vaulting ledges, which for some reason Ajay struggled to do on many occasions, which could have cost me my life, or the stupid wingsuit. If you play on keyboard, it's even worse. I transitioned from controller to keyboard early on in my playthrough since I did not like aiming with the controller, but every time you jump and press shift, if you're even on a slight slope upwards, your wingsuit will pull out, and this can be fatal in many different ways, and it's most annoying when you're crossing ledges or trying to run somewhere. For some reason, when enemies melee you with their guns as well, it knocks you down and takes away most of your health, and while you're getting up, you're still vulnerable to gunfire. Also, when you're caught on fire this game, you can't put it out or use a syringe until you're prompted to put the fire out, so you just eat that damage. The healing without a syringe was unbearably slow too, but I suppose that's more of a mechanic than anything. It was just annoying sometimes. But that's all the negatives I can think of for now, and they aren't going to destroy your experience or anything. Well, maybe the wingsuit might, but you get used to it. As for the positives, there are many to mention. First of all, the weapon variety is unreal. You have so much to choose from. It might sound overwhelming, but it's nicely paced since some weapons get real expensive, and some may be unlocked simply through armor level awards or liberating bell towers. I had a few weapons in and out of rotation throughout the game, but I always had a sniper. I don't know why, these are just the greatest things to use. I used the M700 for a majority of the game, with the suppressor, which made it great for stealth. More on that soon, but it was just so satisfying. Later on, I upgraded to the Z93, which could not be suppressed, but it was insanely powerful. Heavies in one shot, vehicles in 2 or 3 including helicopters. I no longer cared if reinforcements were to be called, as they would just be wiped out. Honorable mention to the Shredder too, crazy fun. There's simply loads of variety to be had with the vast weapon range in Far Cry 4. You would definitely never run out of ideas for personal loadouts. Also, the fact you could have a literal grenade launcher as a simple sidearm to shoot while driving is crazy. Aside from the weapons, there were always 2 ways to tackle an outpost or mission. Either come in guns blazing, like a lunatic, or take the stealthy approach. The game definitely encourages stealth use, from suppressor attachments to throwing rocks for distractions or throwing bait to break animals out of their cages. The game wants you to take your time, pull out your camera, mark where everyone is, and plan your infiltration. The feeling is incredibly satisfying to clear an outpost completely undetected and without any alarms triggered. Also, the various takedown animations were cool, and the skills you could learn like chain takedowns or using a sidearm in the middle of a takedown was really fun too, and added to the vast experiences you can have in this game. You aren't limited to fighting on foot or using stealth either. As I mentioned earlier, you can do drive-bys, you can drop on enemies, shoot from your gyrocopter, or if you really want to make an entrance, just bulldoze in riding an elephant. Aside from all the shooting and killing, the climbing mechanic is solid too. The grapple is satisfying to use, and swinging with it is even better. All the vehicles as well proved reliable and fun, and there is a lot of vehicles to find. All of the gunplay mechanics and even the open world mechanics come together the best when you're coming to things like outposts or fortresses. Fortresses are basically huge outposts that become liable to invasion as you complete the campaign. They are much harder than regular outposts. You can choose whether you want to go in with explosions and chaos, or if you take the quiet, more methodical approach. The choice is entirely yours, and that's what makes the gameplay feel so great. It's not overcomplicated, it's just giving you options, and that is enough to make a memorable experience. At least for me. What better way to truly cement a game experience into your mind other than with the world and its gameplay than the characters inside? The objective of the game designers when making the characters is obviously for you, the player, to be able to connect and sympathize with them, understand them, fear them, want to learn more about them. Far Cry 4 has a unique roster of characters, and depending on which way you look at it, they're all nearly villains. Undoubtedly, my favourite and the character I had the most interest in was Pagan Min. From the very start, he has established himself as one of the most charismatic, eccentric, and unsettling antagonists in gaming. He just seemed different. He was calm, but definitely showed he's not stable. He's wearing a bright pink suit, contrasting all the earthy and army tones of the rest of the game, and he has a pretty interesting hairstyle too. So he's just different. He talks to you multiple times throughout the game, reminding me much of Handsome Jack from Borderlands 2. Love that guy, by the way. He would contact you through radio and talk about random stuff, like Kanye West, for example. Or he would sound mildly disappointed in you as you go around wreaking havoc in Kirat, kind of like a parent would. Well, that's where Pagan is different. As Ajay, the protagonist, you've never seen Pagan or even heard of him, but you are connected. Pagan was Ishwari's, your mother's lover, during her affair, and reminisces actively about her. He has a personal connection to you, and you can tell. From the start of the game, all he wanted was for you to enjoy the Carab Rangoon, and then go up together to spread your mother's ashes. And that actually does happen in a secret ending if you just wait a few minutes in the room after he leaves. You do the same thing at the end of the game if you spare him as well. Except this time, you've went through countless hours of fighting for the Golden Path, fighting against Pagan Min. You realize that the war was going to happen anyway, and you only had one goal. You had no need to participate in helping the Golden Path. In fact, if anything, you should have stayed with Pagan from the start, as he really was your only family at that point. Pagan also tells you about your family after sparing him. He reveals that Lakshmana, which you believed was the place your mother wanted her ashes tucked to, was actually your half-sister, who was murdered by your father, Mohan Gale, upon discovering Ishwari was having an affair with Pagan. The Golden Path treats Mohan Gale as this legendary hero, but Pagan reveals this about him, and that's where my perspective on the Golden Path and its leaders truly changed. By the way, excuse my pronunciation of Gale or Gale, I don't know which one it is. Sabal and Amita were the two leaders of the Golden Path, always fighting with each other about their own ideals, and as you play the game, you decide whose missions to accept and who to listen to. The game paints the picture that you're choosing between a good decision and a bad decision, based on your own opinion. But in the end, you realize they're both bad people, making decisions that seem fair at first but conclude to a dark future for Kirat. Sabal wants to restore Kirat's ancient traditions and its cultural identity. He respects Mohan Gale's legacy and treats you like royalty because of that. Admittedly, I sided with Sabal pretty much the whole game. I thought he was a pretty chill dude, and he always called you brother and treated you almost like a friend. Actually, he does treat you like a friend. He saves you twice in the game as well. I liked his ideas. He wanted to save Kirat and restore it to its original self, unlike Amita, who wanted to take advantage of the already set up drug fields across Kirat to gain an economic head start once they overthrow Pagan. Amita wanted to modernize Kirat and fight for women's rights and eradicate the classic traditions that held her back. Whilst her ideas weren't bad either, I preferred the clean route of saving Kirat morally, without use of opium fields or drug trafficking. You could see the impact of your choices in the world too. Either Sabal or Amita will scold you depending on whose side you took, and they will make you feel bad for it. You never really feel like you were making the absolute correct decision, which is all the more concrete by the end of the game, once Pagan is gone. If you chose for Sabal to be the leader, you will see him at the Jalendu temple executing former Amita followers in front of young Badra, who has become the Tarun Matara. And when you talk to him, he seems to have changed a bit, become colder, displaying an unwavering sense of duty. The same can be said about Amita, perhaps even worse. She will be seen forcefully conscripting children to fight her war, and admits that Badra is gone. She seems to have changed completely, and I wouldn't blame you if you killed her after this, because you can do that. You also had the decision earlier in the game whether you'd like to spare either or kill one of the leaders, as it's a request given to you by either one once you finalize your decision on who gets to be the main leader after one of the missions. I spared Amita, as I didn't think she deserved to die. In fact, I actually felt bad for her. The game definitely doesn't fail to provide a connection to these characters, as you feel their determination and willingness to achieve their goals. Ajay himself, the character you play, isn't a man of many words, and he doesn't seem to get that much development. I mean, he came here to spread his mother's ashes, gets into a gunfight, and all of a sudden he's the top rebel who's destroyed most of Min's empire. It seems a bit unrealistic, but then again, it is a game. Ajay does have some self-awareness though. as if you confront Amita after being told to kill her, Ajay will say, "Who else pulls the trigger around here?" admitting that he basically knows he has been used. He's been used as an asset this whole time by each leader so they can achieve their own goals. Being told their goals aligned as beating Pagan would allow him to spread his mother's ashes. But this is contradicted, as whether you spare Pagan at the end, or don't, leave the room for the start of the game, you end up spreading her ashes anyway. This is why my perspective on these characters really changed, and why I believe now they weren't all that good from the beginning. Aside from these three main characters, there's a few other bizarre side characters to shake up your experience in this game. First off, we have Pagan's lieutenants, Paul de Pleur, who we see is quite unhinged. He treats torturing people like a daily 9 to 5. You can see it from the very start of the game, and also before you confront him when he's on call with his daughter. Nur, who was the only one of the lieutenants not evil, just forced to do evil. She was under the impression her family was held hostage, and that's why she was running the gladiatorial arena to keep them alive. She speaks to you, silently begging you to help her, to get rid of Dupleur. But after you kidnap Dupleur, he reveals that Noor's family was long dead, and she's been manipulated for so long. Once you tell her this, she's broken. She cuts her own wrists, feeds it to the arena's animals, and then jumps off the edge. She was certainly the most flushed out and memorable of the lieutenants, solidified by her tragic story and ending. And then there's Yuma, Pagan's right hand, who is obsessed with Kalinag, and the Shangri-La legend I talked about earlier. She looks down on Pagan's connection with you. She says it's changed him, whilst ironically it seems that Yuma was the one to change. So much so that it drives Pagan to ask you to kill her. Once you encounter her, she drugs you, and you go through a Shangri-La inspired level, and at its climax, you fight with Kalinag. This fight was not that special, you just have to shoot him with the bow, get in close, and repeat that a few times, whilst also fending off the Rakshasas. As you kill Kalinag, you realize it's Yuma you truly killed as the drug wears off, and as per usual for Ajay, he doesn't have much to say about the whole experience, he just walks off. Apart from the main missions, you also receive missions from Longinus, the religious preaching madman who gives you missions where you track down blood diamonds and retrieve them for him. He was strangely funny, and the missions were pretty fun. He was a nice change of normality for Kirat, as was Yogi and Reggie, the two junkie brothers you find living in your home, and their way of introducing themselves to you was by drugging you. And the first time you get drugged, it's quite fun. You're running around with all these visual effects around you, funky music, and it really feels like you're on a trip. You do about 4 more of these missions, and whilst they get repetitive, they're still quick and fun to do, as a change of pace from the regular missions you do. And they have more depth to them than the loads of side missions you can do. Upon completing both Longinus and Yogi's and Reggie's missions, you'll part ways with them. I found those moments to be quite bittersweet, and it's safe to say I definitely enjoyed their places in the game. Last but not least, we have Willis, who apparently returns after Far Cry 3. Keep in mind, all the time I did not know anything about him. He just seemed like a chill American dude interested in me and willing to help me on my mission. He takes you to the Himalayas a few times, relatively linear missions where you are told to take out Yuma's lieutenants. I enjoyed these missions. I know a good portion of the player base did not, but I liked their pacing, and there wasn't that many of them to where it would have got repetitive. After completing all the missions, he reveals to you that you were just cleaning up after the CAA and you were fooled the whole time, to where he then pushes you out of the plane and leaves you at the hands of the Royal Army, where you're led to Durgash prison. The entire Durgash prison I found to be very well executed. Getting to see Pagan again and Yuma for the first time was fun, and the entire escape sequence, both while drugged and after drugs, just showed more so of how much of a badass Ajay can be, and how he gets himself out of any predicament. Anyways, Willis's betrayal just further proved my point on how it seems you are used a lot as an asset in this game. Rather than being helped towards your goal, all the characters play a vital role in bringing life and depth to the world of Kirat, which a lot of AAA games nowadays would actually struggle with. So after putting in the hours, completing it 100%, and looking at everything Kirat has to offer, how does Far Cry 4 hold up today? Is it actually worth playing? In my opinion, absolutely. Even over a decade after its release, Far Cry 4 delivers an incredible open world experience. It doesn't bloat your map with endless meaningless chores, the gunplay and creative combat still feels incredibly satisfying, and the freedom to tackle outposts however you want never gets old. But what elevates it from just another generic open world shooter into something memorable is its narrative. You come into this world thinking you're playing the hero fighting for freedom, only to realize that every faction is manipulating you. And Pagan Min, the flamboyant tyrant in the pink suit, was ironically the only person being real with you the entire time. It's a game that gives you genuine options, respects your choices, and leaves you questioning who the real villains actually were. If you've never picked it up, or if it's just been sitting in your backlog for years, Far Cry 4 is without a doubt still worth your time. But hey, those are just my thoughts. This is my first video on my channel, and if you reached this far, thank you. I plan to make more gaming videos in the future, and would appreciate some support, and if you have any recommendations or thoughts,
You can always leave them down. That's all for me. Goodbye.